Welcome to a new episode of Opening Bid. I'm Yahoo Finance's executive editor, Brian Sozzi. This indeed is the podcast that will make you, I hope, smarter about investing. That is our goal here at Opening Bid. Really, I would say special guest here on Opening Bid, probably one of our most special guests. It's David Marriott, Marriott chairman, coming to us in the flesh at the NASDAQ. You know, I just want to say, David, it's not often, actually we've never talked to someone whose name is actually like on a building, like is this thing that we all use, and that is still involved with the company in a chairman capacity. So thank you for joining us.
It's an honor to be here with you, Brian.
Look, I took a bunch of notes, as you can see, but like you walk into a Marriott, like, what are you thinking, man? Like there's so much to unpack here, but like, where does your brain go? I've always wanted to ask you that.
Well, I mean, first I would tell you that it's a true honor and privilege to be just the company's third chairman in our 97-year history. Very humbling. And you know, when you walk into a hotel, the first thing that I want to do is shake the hands of our associates and thank them for the hard work and the efforts that they put in to take care of our guests each and every day. And to have that privilege to support them and work on their behalf is absolutely the honor of a lifetime.
Where did you start in Marriott?
Yeah, my first job was at the age of 15. I was washing dishes at the Pooks Hill Bethesda Marriott Hotel, and it was great learning. My brother Stephen was the general manager of that hotel at the time, so I like to say he took an enormous risk in hiring his little brother to take on those important responsibilities of making sure that the dishes were clean after each meal in the hotel. But I spent several summers doing internships in the kitchen, learning how to prep food, hot food, cold food, learning how to cook on the line. And then also I spent a summer as a bellman and spent some time making beds and working behind the front desk. So really getting a good overview of the business at a young age and really learning what our associates go through on a daily basis. I think it's important to be able to empathize with your people and with the challenges that they face.
Was it hard? I mean, it had to have been treated a little differently. I mean, all right, so you're cleaning dishes, like, I mean, I'm in the building with my name on it. Like, and look, this is, you know, I've never, you know, this is a unique interview for me. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you, our associates are tremendous. I think about one of my mentors early on, a lady named Paulette, who still works, by the way, at the Bethesda Marriott Hotel, you know, 40 years later. And she was great. She took the time to teach me how to use a knife safely and how to go through the prepping process on all kinds of food throughout the hotel. And I like to think it was energizing for them. And I tried to be a good, humble learner and ask questions and really just be curious throughout the whole process. And I think that curiosity and that willingness to learn can be disarming.
So your dad, I made it a point, I told you off camera, I didn't know how to greet you. I don't know if it was David or Mr. Marriott, but your dad is known as Mr. Marriott.
I'm known as David.
You're known as David. David. What makes him tick?
He is the most driven human being you'll ever meet, and the most caring human being. I mean, he truly lived the core values that his parents established of putting people first, and so he's walked that his entire life, and you know, he will often tell you that he's not probably the smartest person in the room, but I can tell you, Brian, he is always the hardest worker in any room that I've ever been in with him. And so his work ethic, his integrity, his care for human beings, and making sure that we take care of our associates and that they take care of the customer, it's just been an incredible example for my entire life. And his innovation, you know, to think that Marriott was really the first hospitality company with a loyalty program, to think that we were the first hospitality company with a full portfolio of brands. I mean, we started out as a 9-seat root beer stand, and today we're 9,000 hotels around the globe in 141 countries and more than 30 brands. And so the innovation, the willingness to take risk, but his care of people and the way in which he put our associates and customers first in every decision that he made.
If I have this right, your grandfather, of course, who founded Marriott, he died at your age of 12, when you were 12?
Yeah, I was going on 12. I was 11 years old, almost 12 when he passed away. But I have great memories of my grandfather. I was always impressed that he would take the time. We have a family summer place up in New Hampshire, and he would take the time to spend one-on-one time with his grandchildren. He would come and pick us up and put us in his golf cart and drive us to the trails in the woods, and we'd walk for hours with him in the woods. And he would tell us stories, and I'm sure half of them were probably true and half were fabricated, but it was a great way to get to know him on a one-on-one basis. And I just was always impressed that at his age, which was early 80s at the time, that he would take the opportunity to spend that one-on-one time with each grandchild and get to know them.
Talk to us about your progression for the company. I mean, you started essentially cleaning dishes.
Yeah.
You know, how did your dad know that, okay, this is the next job you needed to do? Was it the same progression that he had to take?
Yeah, it was similar. I mean, he grew up working in the Hot Shops restaurants in college out in Salt Lake City, Utah, and did everything from what he calls, he fulfilled the position of what was a soda jerk, which I have no idea what that means, really. I assume that means he poured the sodas for the customers.
I think we're aging ourselves
and maybe he was a little surly, and that's maybe why they got the name soda jerk. I have no idea. But he filled all the different positions in the Hot Shops restaurant and learned how to clean the fryer and how to use the fryer. And so, you know, it was my grandfather's philosophy and belief that you needed to learn the business from the ground up. And he was passionate about food and beverage, obviously, which is where our company got its start. And so he encouraged my dad, he encouraged all of his grandchildren to get their start in food and beverage. And it was a great place to start in the hotel business. I studied finance in college, and then after graduating, I went to work as an assistant sous chef for a year in our downtown Salt Lake City Marriott hotel. And then I learned the sales side of the business in Boston. Spent about 9 years in sales, working my way up through that organization, eventually leading our global sales organization. And then got back into the operations side of the business as a market vice president, overseeing New York and Philadelphia and Baltimore and a couple of markets in New Jersey. Then I became our COO for our Eastern region, and then eventually president of our managed lodging business in the U.S. And then joining the board and coming into the role as chairman.
Did you ever think, and maybe you still do, like, holy cow, I have big shoes to fill? Like, do those expectations weigh on you, and have they weighed on you?
Absolutely. It's hard not to have those expectations weigh on you. But I think I've always learned throughout my career the importance of surrounding yourself with good people, and surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you, and relying on those individuals and being curious and willing to learn and grow. So you know, that helps when you're taking on significant responsibilities.
When I look across the landscape of iconic American companies, I think Ford, you have a Ford member, of course, leading there. I think he's executive chairman. But not a lot of our founding companies are still like involved deeply with the companies. Look at your biggest competitor. They don't have that same board structure that you do. Look at Coca-Cola. There's no family descendants on the board. Like, why has it been so important to, and your sister's on the board too?
She is on the board, yes.
Like, why has that family component been so important for Marriott?
Well, I think we really believe that our culture and core values is what separates us from our competition. We believe it's our secret ingredient. My grandfather and my grandmother established that culture many years ago when they said, if you take good care of your associates, they'll take good care of the customer, and the customer will come back. And our culture and core values are made up of 5 key pillars: putting people first, pursuing excellence, embracing change, acting with integrity, and serving our world. And I think you know, the core values really helped describe who my grandparents really were. And it's what the family believes in. And I think the family has an ability to drive the culture and core values in a more powerful way and connect our associates to those core values in a much more meaningful way than we would be able to if the family wasn't engaged and involved in the business.
You're a father of 4?
I have 4 children.
So
yes.
have you set a path for them? Are they going to follow your path?
Well, I made it very clear to my children that if they want to work in the company, I'll support them 100%, but that they need to find what they're passionate about. This is a business that never stops and requires a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, and you have to be passionate about this business. You have to be passionate about serving others. My oldest son is taking some pre-med classes and wants to enter into psychiatry. So it doesn't seem like the hotel business is going to have a future, that he's going to have a future place in the business. But we need a lot of support on the mental health side as a company as well. So maybe we'll tap into his knowledge and get him involved in supporting our associates in some form or another. Who knows? But they really need to identify this as a passion. They all like to travel.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
and a natural extension of, I guess,
but
they are.
But they're all pretty young, and they have some runway to determine whether or not this is what they want to do. They've all worked in the service industry, whether it's working in a bakery near our summer place up in New Hampshire, or a boatyard up there, or a restaurant. My daughter's been a busser and a hostess, so they have some
potential.
Basic service training. Absolutely.
Well, hang with us,
100%.
David. We're gonna go off our quick break. We'll be right back on Opening Bid. All right, welcome back to Opening Bid. Having a real special conversation here with David Marriott, of course, the chairman of Marriott. How did you know you were ready to be the chairman of Marriott? I mean, your dad was CEO for 40 years, chair for 60. Holy cow!
Well, it is an overwhelming responsibility when you think of it that way. But I grew up around the business. I learned the business from the ground up. I had a lot of unique leadership experiences throughout my career. When I was leading our global sales organization, we reorganized the entire team from top to bottom, and reorganized the way in which we sell at our properties, at our hotels. And so I had a lot of experience leading change. And when I was running our U.S. full service managed organization, I was overseeing more than 300 hotels, working closely with our general managers and our area vice presidents, and surrounding myself with large teams. I mean, when I was leading that team, we had over 100,000 associates within that organization. So, having those big leadership opportunities, learning how to surround yourself with good people, and learning how to prioritize. I remember my very first role as an executive feeling a bit overwhelmed. I was leading global sales, and we were going through a massive transformation effort. I had 2 small children. I had a third on the way. My father was asking me to do things on his behalf when he couldn't be places. My brother was asking me to do things on his behalf when he couldn't be places. And so I wasn't getting the exercise that I needed to get. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't connecting with my family the way I should have been. And I remember going to my boss at the time and asking Amy, I said, Amy, how do I manage through this? This is all new to me. I'm being asked to be 1,000 places, and I can only be at one place at a time. And she asked me, she said, well, what are your top 2 priorities? So we talked through that, and I told her we have to reorganize our sales efforts effectively, and we've got to drive market share. And she told me, she said, if you're asked to do something that doesn't fit below those 2 priorities, and of course there's a lot of efforts that fit below those 2 priorities, she said, if you're asked to do something that doesn't fit below those 2 filters, you have my permission to say no. And I said, even if that means saying no to my father, and we both had a chuckle, and she said, absolutely, if that means saying no to your father. So that was a great lesson for me in prioritization and identifying the critical few priorities, and really focusing, really intensely on those things that are going to move an organization forward.
I think you've really you've had good fortune in having two really great CEOs the past decade or so. I mean, I got to know Arnie Sorensen earlier on in my career. Very much gotten to know Anthony Capuano, the CEO of currently of Marriott. Both of them have really fundamentally changed the company. Of course, Arnie with the acquisition of Starwood, which you were involved in, and Anthony just turning the company into like this growth powerhouse. But I imagine you have a unique position to think about the company for the next 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what is a Marriott 50 years from now, given like, you know, we're seeing companies rent out homes. I'm not going to mention their name. We know who you are. Like, how does that change Marriott?
Yeah, I think for us, we're a growth company, and we have to continue to grow, obviously. We're going to grow organically, but we also need to be looking at, you know, what are the travelers' needs of the future, and how do we fill those needs? So either through new brand creations or acquisitions, and how do we make the travel experience for our customers from start to finish better? And so how do we create the right partnerships? How do we have the right offerings? You know, Marriott Bonvoy is our platform to really connect our customers to Marriott. It's the stickiness that really keeps our customers close to us and wanting to continue to stay with us. And so we have to provide them with the right experiences for them to redeem their points on. So we've been focused on not only, you know, sporting events, but food and beverage and music events. We've had a phenomenal partnership with Taylor Swift, where you know, our Bonvoy customers are able to enter into a lottery for tickets to be able to redeem those
Pretty
experiences.
huge. You negotiated that deal, right?
I introduced our team to some of the members of her team that I knew, and we were able to get that across the finish line. So that's been a really powerful partnership. But those types of experience we want to be able to provide for our Bonvoy members, and really complete the whole travel experience from start to finish for them in a way that it really makes it easy for them to do business with us, and that we have the right technology solutions for them and the right way for them to engage with us across the spectrum of travel.
You know, I mentioned the company, I'll remain nameless, renting out homes. So, but that company's been around, they've been doing business 5 years. They've really claim to fame. But we had news recently that maybe Uber's making a play for Expedia. Like, this is some wild stuff. I mean, is the reality that the travel industry is just going to get more fragmented, and how we view travel and the convergence of services is going to change?
Well, you know, I think people are still looking for phenomenal service, and they're looking to make memories. And what we can provide that some companies can't is that face-to-face customer interaction, right? And owning that stay for our customers, where they're a captive audience at our hotels for a week, 2 weeks, 3 or 4 days, whatever the purpose of their trip is, and being able to provide that person-to-person interaction and help them make those memories that they're going to carry with them for the rest of their lives. And we have to continually be pushing and challenging ourselves. How can we expand that offering to our customers? So we have JW Marriott in the Masai Mara. We have a couple of Ritz-Carltons that are under development in Africa. So getting into that safari space, getting into different parts of the globe that are becoming more and more accessible for people. Adventure travel is one that comes to mind. Wellness is there's a big movement on wellness for people to really engage in stays where they can learn how to better take care of themselves and spend that time focusing on their personal health and well-being. So there's lots of opportunity for growth out there and continued expansion for our company.
Is there a key growth market overseas that Marriott's really focused on?
Well, we have 530 hotels in China. We have 500 hotels in the development pipeline. So outside of the United States, China is our biggest presence by country. I just got back from a trip to India. We have 153 hotels in India and more than 85 in the development pipeline. So we're seeing tremendous growth in that country. It's the largest country in the world now, with more than 1.4 billion people. And they're just tapping into travel over there. They have a middle class the size of the U.S. population, and people are just discovering the beauty of travel in India. So there's places all over the globe where we have opportunity. We have 16% of the hotel supply in the United States and only 3% of the hotel supply outside of the United States. So we have tremendous opportunity for growth in developing countries and in nations around the globe.
I was really thinking deeply, David, while I was prepping for this, like the things in society that your family has seen. I mean, your family's hosted presidents, gotten to know presidents, talked to presidents, like has interacted with iconic innovators, the Ford family per se. Like, do you feel like we're at a turning point in society? Like, of course we're coming up against the election, but is there something about to change, like after the election, for good or for bad?
Well, I think it'll be good to have the election behind us. Yep. I think regardless of the outcome, having the election behind us will, I think, put everyone's mind at ease, and we'll be able to get back to work and focus on moving forward together as a country. And you hope and pray every day that our political leaders in this country can find a way to work together and work on solutions for the country and not be so bifurcated as we have been.
Is it fair to say that culture is where you spend a lot of your time in maintaining it? And I imagine that's really important. Absolutely. I mean, this is divisive. This has been a divisive election season. It's divisive U.S. I mean, is that taking more of your time, just given how fragmented and divisive the country is?
No, I mean, look, we focus on our culture and core values. We have 700,000 associates around the globe that wear the Marriott name badge. They come from 141 plus different countries. They come from different backgrounds, different ideals, different cultures. And it's our responsibility to think about how we can best take care of them and support them in their needs. And a perfect example of that is the pandemic. When we went through the pandemic, we had to furlough hundreds of thousands of associates around the globe. But we were determined that we were going to ensure that they kept their health care. Because we didn't want our associates, even though they weren't technically working for us after we had to furlough them, being in a global pandemic without health care. That's not living our core value of putting people first. We had to make some very difficult decisions during that time frame, but we wanted to support our associates as best we could, and we helped them to find new places to work where they could find jobs and opportunities when the hospitality industry was hurting so badly. So the culture is something that we place a tremendous amount of value on, and it's our job and responsibility to make sure we continue to take care of our associates, give them the training and the resources that they need to be successful, and provide them with the opportunities to grow their careers.
A real treat to get some time with you here, really, seriously. David Marriott, Marriott Chairman. Keep those LinkedIn posts coming. They're very useful. I enjoy watching them. I know many people do. Now I guess you have to go back to your Marriott. I don't know where else would you go. David Marriott, good to see you. Thank you for giving us
Brian, thank you so much, and thanks for following me on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. All right, David, good to see you. And that's
Great
it for the latest episode of Opening Bid. Hit us with those likes on Spotify, ratings wherever you might find them. Keep giving us that love. We really appreciate it. That's it for the latest episode of Opening Bid.